Welcome back to UFest at Home. We're down to our last couple episodes of the series. Now, there's just a few more weeks of winter left, but spring and Easter is just around the corner. We have a whole bunch of fun activities for you to try at home. This is UFest at Home. One of the most recognizable symbols of Ukrainian culture are pysanka, otherwise known as Ukrainian Easter eggs. And while they're rich in tradition and culture, they're also a very fun activity to do right at home. Today we're here with Paul, who's going to be taking us through the process of making Ukrainian pysanka. Hi Paul, welcome to UFest at Home.
And thank you for the welcome.
So what initially got you into creating pysanka?
My wife used to buy eggs at Easter, pysanka at Easter, and I always thought, why don't we do them ourselves? But she never did. I'm not Ukrainian, but she is. And so I've got a book and taught myself how to do it. So.
Wow, that's incredible. So I think what we want to do first is just talk about like the significance of pysanka and the history of pysanka.
Well, actually, eggs have been used in spring for hundreds and hundreds of years, even before Christianity in Ukraine, before 988. The eggs were used in spring as a symbol of new life, the beginning of new life. And so then when Ukraine became Christian, it was adopted into the Christian tradition as well. Some of the symbols were changed, but also because Easter is in spring. And so they were used to represent Easter, because when a chick hatches is a breaking open, and so it represents Christ resurrecting.
Wow, I actually never knew that. That's very cool. What are some of the tools that we would use to create something like a pysanka?
Okay, well, usually we start with this kind of Kiska, and wax, and heat. When we start with an egg, what I do anyway is I use a pencil and I eyeball and draw lines all the way around both ways and then this way, so that it's divided into 8. And it makes it easier to work with then, because I'm really only working with 1/8 of the egg at a time. After I've done that, I actually, using wax, melted, and I write on the egg. Everywhere you see now where there's pattern, there's wax, and this will stay white throughout the whole process. Because once I've finished all the white, I put the egg in a yellow dye, and the egg goes yellow everywhere except for where there's wax. The wax will cover and preserve the color under the wax. And after I've done the yellow and put on more wax, I dip the egg in an orange dye, again more wax, and then red, and then black. And when you put the egg in a black dye, the black will go absolutely everywhere there is no wax. So this is the egg that's finished, the same egg. And you look at the black and it looks like the black was there first and everything else was placed on top, when in fact the black is the last color to go on. After I'm finished with the black, I melt the wax off. If you look at this, triangles facing each other, and they're white, because they were done when the egg was white. So these triangles are those triangles there, and they're white, and they stayed white throughout the whole process, because when you put wax, it covers it and it stays that color.
So for those who are watching at home who have never worked with a Kiska before, how do you get the wax into the Kiska in order to melt it?
This is what I do. I break a hunk off from the wax, and I put it in the little pocket, and then I heat it, and it melts inside.
And that's how you do it. What would be some tips and tricks you would give someone who's a little bit nervous about creating a pysanka?
What I do is start with what I call simple egg, a simple pattern that has some white and some yellow and some red and some orange and then the black, and it's a lot simpler to do. So
starting with a simple pattern, understanding how the wax goes on with the color, and lots of patience would be your three tips.
And get used to having an egg in your hand. What I do, I move the egg instead of moving the Kiska.
That is a very smart tip. I always move the Kiska.
I move the egg and then right that way. So
that it makes a lot of sense because it's very hard to get straight lines on a pysanka when you're...
Yeah, so if I'm doing this, let's just heat this and put it beside, not right on top, because it'll get too hot. I'm going to do this curve that goes around, and so like this. Notice this is yellow because that's what it is on this, and the inside of that ball will be done when the egg is red.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. This was incredible, and you're incredibly talented and very skilled at what you do. And so thank you so much for sharing that with us. I will definitely have some fun doing some pysanka around Easter time. This year, I'm going to take some of your tips and tricks and try those at home.
Good for you, good for you.
Now, one of the most recognizable symbols of Canadian culture is hockey. Edmonton is home to the Kozak Hockey team. We're going to go check in on the ODR with them to see how they celebrate Ukrainian culture on the ice.
Kozak Hockey started out as just a bunch of guys from different dance groups in Edmonton that wanted to do something in the community. It's a lot of fun, just a bunch of Ukrainians together playing hockey. We are known throughout the leagues. The refs come up to us, talk about where do they get pyrohe. We've got some good friendships throughout the league with the refs and other teams even as well. We're always looking for help. Lots of people are reaching out to see what they can do. So yeah, they can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're always looking for people to connect with us.
That's a wrap for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the final episode of UFest at Home.